To all who listen to this happy pod, welcome. My name is Noah Parker, and this is my world of wonder. Today, I'm joined again by my sister, Marci.
Hello.
I don't know what word I was about to say, but it was not sister. My commissioner. So, of course, Marci being here can mean only one thing. We are indeed rewatching our next DCOM. And when I say rewatching, I mean we have rewatched our next DCOM. And when I say we've rewatched, I mean I just finished it.
Right before recording.
Yeah, probably about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I got stuck at work, and I ended up staying later than I was meant to, and I was planning on watching it when I got home, because that would have given me 3 hours to watch through it multiple times, and I got through it once, and we are going.
Here we go.
So,
you have pretty good notes, though.
I thought so. So I was unable to take notes for the first 30 minutes of the movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just trying to throw things in there randomly that I was recalling. And then as we got further into the movie, I was writing things down as they happened. And if I had more time, I would have done it. I would have rewatched the first half hour again to do it again. But alas, we didn't. So today we rewatched Smart House, which is the next DCOM that we are going to be talking about. And I've written a summary because the one on IMDb was, again, shorter than I would like and less descriptive than I would like. But yeah, so I wrote this, and I'm going to let Marci read it.
All right. Smart House summary. Do you want me to read the actor?
Yeah, go ahead and throw those in there.
All right. A young man, Ryan Merriman, struggles with his dad's Kevin Kilner.
That's how I read it.
Okay. Kevin Kilner attempts to... Whoa.
With his dad's attempts
to find a new girlfriend. He enters the family into a contest to win a state-of-the-art house of the future to fill in the gaps his late mother left behind. While trying to foil all of his dad's attempts to find love again, things start to get out of control in this smart house, and it is left up to Ben to calm the home's AI down.
Yeah, so I feel like that was more descriptful than what we got on IMDb, and it's also original content. So, boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the film was released in 1999. So we're finally getting into things that I almost remember them actually coming out, and not just remember watching them a few years later. So Ryan Merriman played Ben Cooper, who is our lead person.
main character.
That's the word. Our main character. Protagonist was the word that my brain was struggling hard to come up with.
Yes.
Yes.
And
so
then,
that was Ryan Merriman. Sorry.
Yes. And then we have Katie Segal.
Yep.
Okay. Katie Segal played Pat.
Who is the AI house?
Yeah, she's the
house's AI.
The house's AI. Yeah.
Super cool. And then, of course, we've got Katie Volding.
Yeah.
Who is returning from Brink. We'll get into that a little bit later. She played Angie Cooper, Ben's little sister.
Then we have Kevin Kilner. He played Nick Cooper, Ben and Angie's father.
Yes. And then Jessica Steen played Sarah. Is that Barnes?
Barnes, yes.
I don't have my reading glasses on. It looks like it says. It looks like it says Bames. Barnes. Yeah. So Sarah Barnes, who is the brains behind Smart House. The Smart House.
The brains behind Pat.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Then Jason Lansing, who played Johnny.
Now, which one was Johnny again? I got lost.
Hold on.
He was one of the friends, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was his main friend.
Okay. Then Susan Haskell played Natalie, who was one of the female interests. I can't tell because this girl's blonde and she was not blonde in the movie, but is that the chick that Ben was super into? I would assume so because her name is first. Or was it Judy?
It was Gwen. Yeah. Gwen.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's way down there.
As they quote in the movie, she is the goddess of the 8th grade.
Oh my.
Is Gwen.
That may be a bit of an overstatement. Anyhow, Rachel Duncan played Judy.
Paul Link played Tuttle.
Emilio Borelli played Miles. And that was the PR rep.
Yeah. I believe Tuttle was the
oh my god, I'm stupid.
What?
Natalie is the mom, I think.
Their mom?
Yeah. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure her name was Natalie.
Who is Judy?
I don't know who Judy is. I'm confused.
This is like a weird lineup.
Yeah, it's not listed in the way that I would have thought they would have listed names.
It probably is. Natalie is probably their mom, because there's also Ben, age 6 on here.
Yes,
so.
He's actually the next one.
Yeah.
And that was your turn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Logan O'Brien played Ben, age 6.
Then Joshua Boyd played Ryan, the obligatory bully in any 90s movie.
Then we have Niles Calloway. He played Charlie, who is Ben's other friend.
Yes. And then Eric Steinberg played reporter number 2.
Grady Hutt played Hugh?
Yeah, Hugh.
I can't read.
Deanna Burton played reporter number 1. Why is reporter number 2 billed before reporter number 1?
Why are both the reporters billed before Gwen?
I don't know that either.
All right. Raquel Bowden?
Sounds good to me.
Played Gwen Petroni, the goddess of 8th grade.
Yes. And then Nicole Bailey played Pretty Girl, the most creatively named character in the film, I think.
She should have been up with Ryan Merriman, honestly.
I agree. Director.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Director by LeVar Burton.
It was written by William Hudson and Stu Krieger. Krieger, sorry.
There's no N.
There isn't? Oh, that's an E. Dyslexia.
Right. Music by Barry Goldberg.
It was edited by Tom Walls.
Cinematography by Jonathan West.
And that is our cast and crew for Smart House.
Yes.
Now, without any further ado, let's jump on into some of our notes and takeaways from Smart House. First and foremost was Katie Valding.
Katie Valding is back.
So, yeah, I remember when we did Brink, which was our first DCOM episode. I keep forgetting that was the first one, but it was. I remember we actually kind of preempted this already.
Yeah,
we were like, she's going to be back in Smart House. Like, I don't know if she comes back again, but we'll have like 4 or 5 years of DCOMs to get through to find out.
Yeah,
so
we'll find out.
Not more. Eventually, if I decide to stop doing the other things of this podcast, or if the podcast expands, this might become like the weekly the DCOM podcast, and then we'd have like a Parks podcast.
Yes.
If everything pans out the way I want it to, that's the plan, is for every like separate thing that the podcast does right now to be its own weekly thing. That would be awesome. Which would help us get through the DCOM list very fast. Because it's once a month. Like Mom was like trying to, because is it next month? I think we're doing Johnny Tsunami is one of the next 2. Okay. It's either March or April's. Okay. I think it's March. Because March is when St. Patrick's Day is in March, right? Because she was like, oh, you guys should do Luck of the Irish because it's like right before St. Patrick's Day. And I'm like, well, Luck of the Irish was early 2000s. And we're just getting, or mid 2000s. Yeah. So we're just getting to the end of 99. 90s, yeah. And so I'm like, I counted through and I was like, we don't even get to the Luck of the Irish for another year and a half. Oh, dang. So, and it's not that far down the list, but doing this every month is like making it take that long. So take that long. Yeah. So anyway, Katie Valding, she was the Disney little sister that I remembered growing up. So it was super cool to hear back. And I also thought it was funny that they had her rollerblading. Yeah. Just in case you couldn't remember that was where you knew her from. Yeah. Right. That was awesome. I love how like the first thing you see of Ben is him cooking macaroni. Oh yeah. And like he's like narrating what he's doing. Right. He's like off the stove, pour it in the sink. And then his watch alarm goes off and he's like, oh, gotta go get Katie. Right. The only thing that triggered me is maybe I've been making macaroni wrong. But like, yes, I strained the water out. Oh, and then he rinses it off. But then he rinses it. And I'm like, bro, there's like, you want some of that water. Like, some of that pasta water adds the flavor.
it doesn't make any difference, honestly.
Yeah. I think if anything, it makes it so that it's not as sticky for the cheese.
Yeah.
So like the cheese doesn't stick to it as much. But then again, he wasn't making macaroni and cheese.
He was making tuna noodle.
Tuna noodle. Yeah.
And then he puts it in the oven. He's like, all right, Spike, their dog. He's like, let's go get Katie. He just puts it in the oven and leaves. He leaves the house.
Right.
I don't know how far away he went.
That is some risky business. But I also think it's funny how... go ahead.
She's like holding Spike on her rollerblades, and he's just like... Pew!
He's just like, going. That was awesome.
Yeah. And then they get back, and he goes, thank you for not burning.
Right. I love how he talks to the food.
And I'm like, me too, bro.
Same. Yeah. But so like he's super obsessed with like trying to get his entries in for the winning the smart house. So then of course we have to go to the smart house. Actually, I think it opens to that, doesn't it?
It does open at the smart house.
Okay, so I did put that in the wrong spot.
Yeah, with the paper boy.
Yeah, because that's the opening scene. Yeah. He misses the identified paper spot, and Pat yells at him for it.
Yeah, and he's so like, funny. Whatever, lady.
And it's just the house.
Yeah.
But then then it goes inside the house. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking, but I thought I had this in the right spot, but it was funny because like Sarah's in the house like obsessing over making sure everything's right because the guy who paid for it basically is coming over to draw the winner, and the PR rep is like he's like super early foreshadowing, and he's like, oh yes, this is great, until some family moves in and ruins it, and I'm like, let's just throw that nugget in immediately that's what's gonna happen later.
Yeah, right.
So I thought that was hilarious.
I mean, like, it's kind of...
it's inevitable. It's inevitable, that's what families do.
Yeah. They're like, you move into a house, if you have kids, eventually things are gonna get broken, you know?
Right. Right. In a super high-tech house, even though it cleans itself.
Right. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then, okay, so back on track where we were supposed to be after all that and Dad gets home and everything. There was that throwback to dial-up that I thought was hilarious. His dad's like,
you're not still logged into the internet,
are you? And he's like, why? And he's like, because how do you expect anyone to reach us?
Yeah.
If
you're on the internet, how am I supposed to call someone?
Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost forgot about dial-up and how like if someone was on the internet, you could not call. Like it was using the phone
internet
line.
Or phone.
It was either or.
Yeah.
Now it's all of them.
It's everything.
But it's
your
still
phone
connected to the
is
same
everything.
thing. It's just smarter.
Yeah.
So it's hilarious dial-up, man. I'm glad we got past that. We're in a good age now.
Yes.
And then they go to school the next day, and there's, of course, I feel like it's a Disney staple. It happens, I think, in most movies, really, but it's really a Disney staple where there is a obligatory bully who makes the nerdy kid do his homework.
Yeah, like we talked about in the 13th year last month, where he's like, I'm not going to do your homework unless you're going to beat me up.
Right.
You're
exactly.
Like, yeah.
And I'm like, Disney does it so much. Like, almost every DCOM has something like that happening in it.
Kind of. There wasn't any in Xenon, though.
Or was there?
Less,
maybe Xenon was the bully. Maybe Xenon was the bully making someone else do her homework.
Maybe, but you don't see it.
Anyway.
But
it does happen a lot.
Can I backtrack just a tiny bit?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when his dad is like, he's like, please be off the internet. He's like, I'm okay. I'll be off at 10:01 exactly, because the competition ends at 10 p.m. so that they can put the winner in the paper the next morning. And I was like, how late are they printing these papers for these poor paper boys to take out in the morning? Like,
probably about midnight is when they start printing.
Because I remember, because we used to help Mom deliver newspapers.
Yeah.
But we would get them like 2 days in advance.
Yes, but
maybe that's different.
We were delivering the like.
Was it like weekly?
Yeah, it was for it was the paper that got delivered to houses that didn't want a subscription to the full paper that got delivered every day.
Okay.
It was the bonus edition, I think is what it was called. The bonus paper.
Oh, okay.
So like
that makes sense.
Basically everyone got it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it just had more generic stories and less time-bound stories in it.
Yeah.
Less breaking news, more just kind of like this is what happened this week.
Today? Yeah.
So so we were getting those.
Okay.
But like if we had picked up like a real paper route, like we would be picking them up from the Times Call at 4 a.m.
Oh.
and heading out to go, because they were literally hot off the press.
Just printing. Yeah. Okay. I guess I didn't understand how newspapers worked.
Well, I mean, I guess they still do work that way now, but like realistically not really, because like the New York Times is just they still have a physical paper, but it's mostly internet based. Okay. So they don't need to do that anymore. Yeah. They can literally break news instantaneously.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Life is fun.
Then the phone rings in the morning. They're running late.
Actually, the phone doesn't ring in the morning because he's still on the internet.
Yes, but when he wakes up and he's like, any phone call? And his dad's like, yeah, didn't I tell you we want a futuristic home? Get out of here. We're going to school. We're already late.
Then the phone
rings. And he's like, Dad, and he's like, let the machine get it. We're late.
Right.
Now we're at school.
Yes. I also think it's funny that they cut off like when they're like, let Pat choose the winner, and then they're like, the winner is, and then they cut it off, and I'm like we don't know what's about to happen.
Like, he's the only one we saw enter the contest.
Right. And like he literally makes a comment about how like about a quarter of those entries should be mine, and I'm like,
because he was like entering them like every minute.
I think it's every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he's like literally like watching his watch and then hitting the button again, like at a certain time.
Yeah.
So I think it's like every 5 minutes. Probably. There's probably something that he's a smart kid, so he probably figured out there's like, oh, if I enter him too fast, then it'll knock them all off.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah. So yes, he's in school. Bully. Does that happen in real life?
And then he hear the
there's
kids,
a huge gap here that you're gonna have to tell me.
The kids, like one of the kids in the hallway is like, yeah, way to go, Ben, and he's like, I don't know what that was for.
He's like, cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. And then like the next thing, like. There's kids, cuts to a classroom and they're like, he's coming. And then he walks in and they're like, woo, cheering him on. And he's like, what is happening? They're like, you're so lucky. Congratulations. Right. And he's like, what is happening? And then they show him the paper with his name in it, winning the House of the Future.
I love the one kid who just has a paper on him.
I know.
When I initially saw that moment, I was like, what kid just has a newspaper at school? What kid's taking a newspaper to school? Yeah. But now that I'm kind of reflecting on it a little bit more, I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah.
A kid in his class just won a probably multi-million-dollar home.
For sure, yeah.
Like, okay, never mind. It does make sense that he might have that newspaper.
So he's like, I'm going to bring this paper and we're going to cheer on my classmate. Maybe he'll let me come over and see his cool house.
My thought process now is like, I wonder if his intention on bringing the paper was to get Ben to sign it. Right. But then he's like, oh, Ben doesn't know. I can just conveniently use this newspaper to show him what I'm congratulating him on.
Yeah. Maybe the teacher brought it and that student just happened to
happened to grab it from his desk because he stole it off the teacher's desk because he's a delinquent. Also, I don't think the teacher's in the room right then. So
I didn't pay that much attention to that.
I'm not saying that because I didn't see the teacher. I'm saying that just because it was getting a little rowdy in there, and like class probably should have been started already.
Teacher would have been like, calm down.
Right. Shh. Like, guys, we're here to learn. Great
Quiet
job
coyote.
to the kid. I just heard that recently. I don't remember where, but it wasn't from you. And I'm like, what?
You don't know Quiet Coyote?
No.
Your wife's a teacher and you don't know Quiet Coyote?
That might be who I heard say it somewhat recently.
Just Quiet Coyote.
Yeah. Well.
Then his dad. No, he calls his dad.
Yes.
And first of all, like, forgetting it's 1999, I was like, oh yeah, he's on a payphone. Right. He doesn't have a cell phone. Cell phones weren't like a big thing. His dad has a cell phone, but like,
right, but
it's
that's
like a work phone.
That's a big deal.
Sure.
That was a big deal. I'm sure like when this movie came out, they're like, what?
Huh? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we won. He's like, find a paper. And his dad's just like, all right, I'll pull this paper from right next to me.
Right. He has a paper on his desk and he did not notice that his name was on the headline.
Yeah. And he opens it and he sees a picture of Sarah.
And that's all he sees, actually.
Yeah, that's all he sees. He's like, beautiful.
Well, I guess we can check it out. Because like before that, he was all like, there's always a catch with these things. Yeah. There's no way we're just getting a house, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's not just a house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, beautiful, and he's like, it's incredible, right, Dad? And then he's like, hey,
he's like, yeah, she is.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's like, what?
It's hilarious.
Yeah. And then the next scene is like they
it's like the press event.
Yeah.
Where everyone's like taking pictures of the new family moving.
I remember what Pat stands for.
Oh,
if you want me to,
please, because I forgot.
Because so he's like what's his face? Tuttle, maybe.
That sounds right.
Big boss guy. He comes up and he's like, I was gonna introduce them, but it feels more right for the house to do it, basically. And he's like, Pat, and she's like, the new occupants, Nick, Ben, and Angie, and everybody's like, woo, yay. And then and then they're like, Sarah, and she steps up and she goes, thanks, Pat. And then the reporter, probably reporter number 2,
probably because he spoke first, but he should have been.
He goes, excuse me, Ms. Barn, Pat? And she goes, personalized. Oh, dang it. Hold on. Oh God, don't keep this.
I'm gonna.
It was in my brain and now it's gone. Personal
assistant?
Technology? No. Personal applied technology.
Oh, yes. That's it.
I got it. I got there, guys.
I hate that acronym.
Personal applied technology.
That was literally Disney being like, let's call the house Pat. And then someone's like, well, what does Pat stand for? And someone's like, I guess not like, Disney. I say Disney, but it was William Hudson and Stu Krieger.
I feel like personal assistant technology would have been better.
I think so too.
She's like their personal assistant.
Yeah.
At that point.
See, that does make sense. But personal applied technology kind of sounds weird.
It's just like, but
that's just putting a bunch of letters in a row. So. Yeah.
She's smart. She has to talk weird.
I have a note.
No, I meant Sarah.
Oh. Well, yeah.
Sorry, that laugh was really loud.
That's okay.
My bad.
It's all good.
Moving on.
Well, that's way further down. Where did I just scroll to? What did I do? Ben design. Oh, okay. So I guess I don't know if this really falls in here, but kind of does. I guess.
I mean, it's throughout the whole movie.
It is a reoccurring theme. It's kind of the theme of the whole movie. Mm-hmm. Sorry. It's Ben's desire to keep his dad from moving on, and it's that for me watching the movie, it was both heartwarming that he cares so much about like maintaining his mother's legacy and like the household that she built, even though he literally moved the house instead of staying in. But I guess maybe the house that they were living in at the time before they moved was not the house.
Right.
But that felt weird to me.
That they just kind of like left.
Yeah. But I'm like,
it's still in the same area though, because they say you have to be in this area.
Well, no, but like I guess my thought process was like, if that's the house that his mom died in.
Yeah.
Like all of this pressure, all this stuff he's going through, like feels like cutting out the house that you last saw your mother in. Like,
right. I feel like you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. But it does sound like they still own it, and they probably do. Like, they probably just rented it out. Now they own 2 houses, completely rent and mortgage free. Apparently. Maybe not mortgage free on the first house, but definitely the new one because they won it. So,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was heartwarming in that way, but it was also kind of heartbreaking because like his dad really desperately needs
someone else,
someone
to help,
companionship.
And,
for himself and to help with the kids because like he cannot for the life of him tie up Angie's hair. So like there's things that like he can't do, and like so for his own personal, like honestly for his mental health and all that stuff, like yes, it is heartbreaking and tragic that his wife died, but like he's also a man of logic, it seems. He
and like Angie,
it's a tough situation,
needs that female role model too.
Right.
So like he's not just thinking of himself, he's also thinking of like Angie, and like Ben needs a motherly figure too,
right? He
can't just go off of it. It was like 4 years before that his mom. Well, it was because they say it. They say it in the movie.
I missed that bit.
Ben's like, you broke a promise that you made 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So he was like 9 when his mom died.
Right.
And Angie would have been like 5.
Right.
So like,
it's not very memorable for her. Like,
right.
There's, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, and it's one of the hardest things in life. And like, that's one of the things about this movie that like is rough.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of like, they downplay it a lot, but like, right. This situation but where like,
like a tough
your mother
subject.
dies,
like
we've never had to deal with that, and so I'm thankful that we've never had to deal with it. But I know there's people out there who have, and it's like I don't know how I would feel,
right,
as the child of this situation, I don't know how I'd feel as the father in this situation. Like, I don't know. I could get really deep and sentimental right now, but we do not have time for that. And I don't want to also, like, talk about that. Yeah. Oh, anyway. It was heartbreaking because it's like I understand where Ben's coming from, but I also feel like he needs to understand where his dad is coming from. Yeah. And like just overall, like, life goes on. Yeah. And like it sucks. But you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. Anywho, let's move on, because this definitely I think is a big jump.
Yeah, there's a big gap here, but I can fill in some of it.
Please do, because I was trying to fill out notes, but I was also trying to get things prepped, and
so
today was rough.
Let's see, where is this from? Okay, so like the second night there, we'll say there's no like real timeline. They just kind of jump.
Yeah,
around, but
things are kind of just happening.
It's like maybe the first or second night that they're there. He's like, they invite Sarah to stay for dinner. It's got to be like the second night there, because they invite her to stay, and Ben's like, sorry, my brain is going blank.
That's okay.
Ben's like, no, you don't need a woman. That's why I got this house, because Pat can take care of us. And he makes a comment about, by tomorrow she'll be the best mother in all the neighborhood,
right?
Or something like best mother figure in all the neighborhood. And his dad's like, all right, well, go to bed. I'll see you in the morning,
right?
And let's see, and then he goes, yeah, this is.
It's kind of
a little out of order. That's okay. You changed my note that I changed. That's okay.
Was it MPC?
Yeah.
Oh, I swore it was MPV.
No, because it was channel.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why when we get there.
Okay.
So he sets an alarm on his watch, and it goes off to he like puts on, like, it looks like it's trying to be like night vision or something.
Yeah.
But like it's just like a small light thing on his head, and then he like drills the panel to open the door. Yeah. I got confused at that part. I don't know.
No, because you can just get into anywhere with a drill.
Yeah. So he breaks in to the control room, and uploads a bunch of like what motherly figures, like what he thinks a mother should be,
right?
Which is mostly like 50s, and he turns on like it's like comedy hour, mother comedy hour or something.
Yeah.
And I can't remember all of the titles, but one that stuck out was the Noah's Matriarch.
Oh, I totally missed that.
It's like, my 3 moms, make room for mama, and then Noah's Matriarch. And I was like, what?
That's
like
so funny.
Noah in the ark, but matriarch. It's so funny.
I totally missed that, but that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I was like, why did he pick like comedy moms? And then how did Pat turn out to be not funny?
Right.
Like, she's like a serious, very commercially mom, where she's like, this is what we have in the kitchen.
Right.
Like, you know?
It was so funny. And I don't know if you caught it, but I almost didn't, which is why I say this. Her voice is very, very robotic up until this point.
Yes.
And then you get more of that, like, well, I don't know what color the toilet paper should be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Where she's like,
that was the most random sentence I've ever said in my life.
What color should the toilet paper be? Yeah, she's like, welcome to the new occupants, Ben, Nick, and Angie. And then like later she's like, good morning, children.
Right. And it's like what? Super like that.
But it's
50s.
like a subtle.
It was totally lost on me when I was a kid, though. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I never noticed a transition. I didn't even notice that it was a 50s mom and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
it reminded me of I Love Lucy, and that's why I remember it.
Valid.
Because I was obsessed with I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone the other day about the long trailer, and I don't remember why it came up, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, so then the next day, or that morning after she's become the 50s mom.
Yes.
She prepares lunch for them, and she goes, and you have a nice, what is it? A nice chocolate cupcake in there for you guys. And her dad's like, I thought you were programmed by nutritionists. What's happening? And she's like, well, they're kids. They deserve a treat every once in a while. And he's like, all right, sure. And then they're driving to school that day, and Ben's like, see, I told you, Pat's great.
Yeah.
And they look down and they're like, Angie left her lunch again. She does this all the time. What? It sounds like. And he's like, he's like, drop me off at school first, and then you can just swing back to her school. No big deal, Dad.
Right. like you take your time, Dad. Nothing. Drop me off early.
Yeah. And then he mentions that he forgot his bully's homework.
Right.
And he's like, why are you doing his homework? And he's like, don't worry about it, Dad. I got it. This kid's had it out for me since the 2nd grade. So 6 years, because they're in 8th grade now.
Right.
Are you good?
Yeah, okay. We've been recording for 40 minutes already.
Cool. And yeah. So then he's like, the best way to deal with a bully is to stand up to him. And then the next scene is him sitting in the kitchen with a black eye. Like he got punched in the face.
Yeah. So dumb. Good advice, Dad.
Yeah. And Pat's like, oh my gosh, what happened to my baby boy?
Right. Nobody noticed that.
Nobody noticed that. She's like, these are my children. What?
Mm-hmm.
And then Nick is like, oh, it's my fault. I opened my big mouth, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, here, put a steak. And he's like,
a steak?
Nobody's done that since the 50s.
Yeah. During the rewatch, that was when it clicked, and I noticed the voice change.
Yeah.
And I noticed that all of her behavior was very much 50s sitcom mom. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because Ben was like,
yeah,
this is what a mom should be like. Yeah. And then that night he calls Sarah, and he's like, you want to go on a date with me? And she's like, okay.
Hey, bet.
I would talk about her dating history, but like,
that was too much.
Too much
to unpack. To put it simply, she dated a bank robber.
Mm-hmm. A bank robber that they called like the Halloween robber or something, because he wore a different Halloween mask.
Then she dated a
rubber chicken factory manufacturer.
Yes.
And I can't remember. She just named those two.
Yeah, you're right.
Because she's like, I can't remember if that was before or after the rubber chicken factory manufacturer guy. And then he's like, you're making this up. She's like, I swear I'm not. It's real. It's real. And he's like, okay, sure.
Right.
But yeah, so they're like, she's like, how are the kids? And he's like, oh, Ben had a rough day today. And she's like, yeah, it's such a tough age. Like, you're not a kid, you're not an adult. You want to hold on to the childhood, but you're being pulled away from it. And like, it's an awful age. And I was like, I feel that.
Facts.
Actually. 28's an awful age too.
That's why we're here. We've been pulled away from the childhood, and we're trying to get back into it.
Yeah. And he's like, I just wish he had more fun. I just wish he had more fun in his life, and that triggers Pat to research fun for teenagers.
Yes, okay, and then we finally get to my note.
And now we're here to your note.
Which is, so as she's like researching teenagers, one of the things that comes up on the screen is MPC, and it's totally the MTV logo, but they changed the letters from MTV to MPC. Yeah. So instead of being music television, it is music party channel.
Yeah. Stupid. The only reason I remember that it's funny. MPC is because it's my initials, but like flipped.
Yeah, but just in the wrong order. That's so funny.
Oh, and I'm like, wow, my initials really mean like a lot of computer things, like not like real things.
Yeah.
Because there's this, and then in Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, there's the Master Control program.
Oh, yeah, that's a Tron thing.
Tron thing. Yeah, and it's MCP, and I'm like, those are my actual initials.
Yeah. That's so funny. But then so what I thought was funny is that Pat just casually plans this whole party and invites a ton of kids, and then doesn't even bother to tell anybody.
Yeah. But she plans it for the night that Nick and Sarah just planned their date.
Right.
So she's still smart. She's like, oh, you want fun? All right.
I'll give him fun.
You're leaving Saturday?
But shouldn't she have told Ben and Angie so that they weren't like...
it's a surprise.
I guess, but like what's funny is that they're just sitting there playing video games.
And then conveniently...
And they just conveniently have this conversation about like, shouldn't we be doing something more fun on Saturday night? And Pat is like, good thing you said that because I planned a party for you.
She's like, wouldn't it be awkward if you didn't say that?
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, what if they didn't have that conversation? What if they were perfectly content sitting there playing video games?
Yep.
And then all these kids show up at their house and they're like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm playing video games.
Well, I think it's funny that his two best friends are the first two to show up and they're like, has the party started yet?
Right.
And you're like, wouldn't you have noticed?
Right. And I'm like, it's so weird because it's like, okay, so they're coming asking if the party's already started.
Yeah.
Which means the invitation had a time on it.
Right.
Rough time.
Roughly, yeah.
And
it's like starting about this time.
And they got there late enough that they thought that they might have missed the start of the party.
Yeah.
But nobody else was there yet. So I'm like, so some of y'all were trying to be fashionably late and some of y'all were very late.
Some of you were very late.
So some
of you were trying to sneak in.
Yeah. But what's funny is when the friends first come in, she's like, Ben is like, Pat, how about some cool music video screens?
Music video screens.
And it's instantly a boy band. I don't know. Was it Backstreet Boys or
I don't think
it probably
so.
Wasn't, but whatever. It was a random boy band, and they instantly jump into the boy band. They like
look at each other. They're like, "We know this dance. Let's go."
Perfectly choreographed. I'm like, so you guys have been practicing.
Step by step with the video. It's so funny.
A little too convenient there, but
yeah. But like, yours is like not the boy band dance, and I was like, yes, a boy band dance.
It was so funny. It was so 90s. Like it's 99, but it's still like mid 90s like, crap. And I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
But with one thing, the thing I thought was funny is that like not only did she invite all of his friends and some of the other random kids from school, and some of the kids didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
But Pat also invited his bully. Not to try to get him to get along with Ben and get to know him better. No, she wanted to torture him.
She was like, because he comes in, she's like, Angie's at the door, she's like checking people in basically. Yeah. And he walks up and she's like, I don't think Ben wants you here. And he's like, oh, I got a personal invitation. And then Pat's like, it's okay, I invited him.
Right.
And he's like, oh, looks like the house likes me. And she's like, yeah, by the end of the night, I might even have a crush on you. And I was like, oh, that's I terrifying.
Got chills. I was like, oh.
That is so
She could have put him in the trash compactor.
Honestly, I was like, she's going to beat this kid up.
Dude, I got scared.
I was probably like 13 or 14. Like, that's terrifying.
For real. I'm like, what is this house planning to do? It can't be that bad. And then she electrocutes him.
Yep. She gives him a little, you see the bolt of lightning actually hit him.
Right. Well, a little electricity, it doesn't hit him.
We'll
pretend
like he didn't jump back late, but it's fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then she literally like uses her little claw thing to like throw him out on the lawn.
Right.
It's so funny.
That is demented.
Yeah.
And then from there it cuts to Nick and Sarah on their date. And she's like so in love. And I'm like, it's so funny to me that like at the beginning of the movie, she's like telling the PR rep that she doesn't need a boyfriend because she's too busy with work and she's married to her job and all this stuff. And like not a week later, she's falling in love with this guy who conveniently is single and has two kids.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. Okay. You remember how apprehensive she was to move out of the house to let the Coopers move in?
Yes.
I'm like, thinks this woman is trying to swoon Nick so that they'll get married just so she can live in the house still.
There's two of my favorite parts of this whole movie are with him and her.
Yeah.
The first one is when they first move in, he's like, oh, I should have your number just in case we need help with the house.
Right.
And she's like, you already got it. And he's like, I do.
No, I don't.
And she's like, yeah, Pat. And then she like rattles off her phone number, and he's like, easy peasy.
Easiest way to get a girl's number in history.
Right. And then the second one is this part here when they're on their date, and she's like, what a refreshing thing, like drinks in one place, dinner in another place, and he's like, now it's time for dessert. And she's like, you can pick anywhere you want as long as there's chocolate. And he was like, oh, hold on. And then he goes, your wish is my command. And pulls out a Hershey's Kiss from his pocket. I was like,
my first thought was like, well, that's cute. Yeah, my first thought was like, well, that's cute. And then I'm like, how long has that Hershey Kiss been in your pocket, boy? That's nasty.
That's nasty. Did Angie plant that? Angie would have.
They've been cutting down on the snacks, so they shouldn't have any of that at home, right? So how long has that been in your jacket, boy?
Yeah. Anyway, and then they kiss after goes
that. With it also goes with the adage about males don't touch our stuff and we'll know where our stuff is. You have a paper clip? Oh yeah, at the bottom back or the rear right side of my file cabinet, right under the wheel. There's a paper clip. Don't move our stuff, and we'll know where our stuff is.
That's literally how my brain works all the time. It's like, do you have this tiny little thing? And I'm like, yeah, it's right here, exact detail. You'll find it right there. And then they're like, do you have this giant thing? Oh, I think it's somewhere in my closet.
The thing that's really hard to miss. No, I think I lost it.
I think it's...
I thought I lost a vacuum when we first moved into this house, but it turns out we left it in the closet at the old place.
The old place, oh.
And I was like, I thought I just lost a freaking vacuum.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Anyway. Next. Yes. She's probably trying to live in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought.
I agree.
Anyway.
That's pretty good.
We digress. I'm trying to make that a thing. So I can make it a t-shirt. I digress. Or we digress.
Like that one TikToker.
Do they do that? Is that a thing already?
Not necessarily that. His name is Greg, and he says, "But I die, Greg."
Oh, okay.
So it's similar, but it's not the same thing.
Okay,
yeah. Anyway, okay. Next note.
So my next note was that Ben has the memory of a goldfish.
Yes.
Because they go back to the movie, like the scene takes us back to the party, and Angie comes up to Ben and she's like, "It's 10:42," and he's like,
10:24.
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, dyslexia gets me again. He's like, it's 10:24, and he's like, thanks, clock girl. Want to tell me the weather next?
Yeah.
And then she's like, our extremely punctual father said he would be home at 10:30, and then he's like, and what time is it now?
Goes, wait, what time is it now?
Right. And she's like, she says it's 10:24 and 40 seconds. Yeah. But I'm like, she literally told you less than 18 seconds ago, like, that it was 10:24.
In his defense, he was dancing with a pretty girl, the goddess of the 8th grade.
But that should not have been that way.
Can I rewind 1 second?
Yeah, please.
Sorry. Okay, back to the party. He goes, the girls are like, "Can we have food? We're hungry." And he's like, "Yeah, let's go get snacks." And he goes, "Pat, can you make a pizza? These girls are hungry." And she goes, Gwen's like, I want something. What? Can you make dessert? I'm craving something sweet. And he's like, besides me. That was a joke.
Works.
He goes, that was a joke. What do you say, Pat? Something sweet? Show me the honey. And I was like, oh, the cringe is so hard.
How cringy.
It's so bad.
It's so funny. But then, so they kick everyone out of the party because it's 10:24 and 40 seconds, and they have 5 minutes and 20 seconds to get
everybody out and to clean the house.
Yeah, and then they're like, how are we going to clean this house? Well, actually, Angie says, we're dead, and then Ben says, we're dead and buried. And I'm like, I don't think you need that part, but okay.
I don't think you need that part.
But so then they're like, Pat, what do we, or like, oh my gosh, this is going to take us forever. And then Pat's like, not necessarily, just put everything on the floor.
Yeah.
And then they do, and then 5 seconds later, it's all gone.
It's all gone. She absorbs it into her floor absorbers. Also, I love how they're kicking it off the stairs.
Right.
And as if the stairs aren't part of the floor.
Stairs are floors. Like, if the stairs are part of are not a part of the floor absorbing system, that sounds like a gigantic flaw.
Yeah.
Because the most dangerous place for something to spill would be on the stairs.
Would be on the stairs, yeah.
Maybe the least likely place too, but also if I spilt my smoothie on the stairs, whoever comes down the stairs behind me is dead. So that might be where you want the absorbers.
Yeah.
So I just wrote really big bold letters. I want my floors to clean themselves.
Same.
Oh, and then so they basically got away with it, right? Yes. But is it Gwen's jacket?
Yeah.
Gwen's jacket is in the plant.
Yeah. Because while they were dancing, she
she took it off and threw
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Ben notices it in the plant and then just stares at it.
Yeah. His dad's like, everything went smooth, and he's like, yeah, smooth as
And then his dad turns around and looks and sees the jacket and goes,
It's like in the plant in front of him past the wall. His dad's not even past this wall.
Right.
To even like see it out of the corner of his eye. He literally peers around the corner.
Right. And I'm like, well, Marci said this. Sort of. You said this sort of. I just rewrote it. I just put it differently. But basically, it was like, if you look at it said looking at something you don't want someone to see will guarantee that they see it.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, if Ben hadn't looked at the jacket and froze, his dad never would have known.
Right. Like if Adriana walked down the stairs right now and snuck behind you to scare the shit crap out of you, what I would not do is go.
Exactly.
I would not follow her with my eyes behind you, and you go,
like,
either you have something planned or you have a ghost.
Probably the latter.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what happened in this house. Anyway, it's been around for 26 years. Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah.
And
then Nick gets mad at her because he's like, I trusted you guys, and Pat's like, actually,
it was my fault.
You said she needed more fun, and this is what I googled fun.
He's like,
yeah, but a party.
I didn't mean that. I meant, responsible fun with an adult,
something that I could be a part. Like I knew
basically,
about.
Like I wanted to be a part of too.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Not necessarily, I guess, because he really meant like he wanted him to go play basketball.
Yeah,
try out for
he
the
loves
team
basketball, and he's like, he wanted him to be on the team and stuff. And then he's like, you need to knuckle down and be more responsible. And she goes, okay, you want me to be responsible? I will be the most responsible. And then she goes crazy.
Yeah. And then, okay, what happens in the next scene is they're getting ready to leave for school, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like, it should be Sunday, but maybe it's Monday. Maybe they just skipped over Sunday.
They just skipped. Yeah.
That's fine. So it's Monday, I'm guessing. They're getting ready to go to school, and he's like, I'm going to go shoot. Ben's like, I'm going to go shoot hoops outside while I wait for you two slowpokes to get ready for school.
Yeah.
And Pat is like, you need to pull up your pants, young man. They look silly and blah, 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 and all this stuff.
He's
and
like, this is how everybody wears them. She's like,
no.
Not
pull
in the
them
50s.
And then he's like trying to go out the door, and he touches the doorknob, and it shocks him. And I'm like, this woman is obsessed with shocking people. Oh, not woman, but this AI.
This electronic person thing.
She is obsessed with shocking people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just chill. And so eventually he finally does pull up his pants, and then she lets him go outside. So. Yeah. And then later, she does like the same maneuver on his dad, where he's like, "Yeah, I'll get those bats and balls shipped out to you immediately." Yeah. And then, like, before he actually does that, he's like,
"Call Sarah."
Oh yeah, he's like, "Pat, call Sarah. Contact Sarah." And she's like, "I think you should probably do your work first."
She's like, "You haven't gotten a lot of work done. Probably do that before you talk to your girlfriend."
And then he's like, "No, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm an adult." And she's like, "If you want me to knuckle down, I'm knuckling down. Not just for everyone." It's how it works, sir. How it works.
If it's me, it's everybody. Yeah. I'm taking care of you.
It's funny. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. And then he's like, I'll dial her myself, and he dials it, and then it's Pat's voice, and she's like, "Sorry, Nick."
Dude, for real. And I'm like,
pulls out his cell phone. That's the first time you see his cell phone.
Yeah.
And he dials on his cell phone, and she goes, "Sorry, Nick." And I'm like, how did he get in the cell phone? How?
Okay, whoever put the cell interrupters inside the smart house, dumbest move ever.
Dumbest move, bro. Worst
AI can't just make that. Like,
yeah.
That was funny.
That was so funny.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We'll let this slide for now." And I'm like,
yeah.
What? Put your foot down, man.
Yeah. And then Angie's watching cartoons, and it switches over to like a science channel.
Yeah.
And she switches it back, and then it switches back and like goes back and forth like 3 times, and then Angie's like, "I give up. I'll go read a book then."
It's like, that's my girl, her good girl or something.
And then she sneezes, and it's like, "Oh my goodness, you have a temperature." And she's like, 99.7, big deal.
I'm pretty sure 99.7 is not a fever.
It's considered a low-grade fever, but not like one to consider you sick.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not contagious until it's 101.
Yeah. Interesting.
So
I thought, okay, I guess that makes sense.
You learn a lot when you work with kids.
It makes sense.
Makes sense. Stuff like that.
But yeah. So then, basically, she makes her go get in bed and makes her dad bring her up chicken noodle soup, and then he's like, "I think we better keep you from home from school tomorrow."
Yeah.
And she said the thing that made me laugh so hard.
She's like, "No, tomorrow is our field trip to the llama farm."
I was like, llama farm.
That's, I mean, for a 9-year-old, that's pretty exciting.
I mean,
honestly.
I guess.
Like, for me, that's kind of exciting. I would like to go see the llama farm.
I mean, me too.
Except
but
I know that they spit in your face if you look at them.
No, it's not if you look at them. It's if you make them mad.
Oh.
So if you look at them
I thought it was
wrong,
like if you make eye contact, they spit in your face.
I've made eye contact with plenty of llamas.
What?
I go to the petting zoo with llamas sometimes.
Oh.
Well, Anderson Farm, they have several llamas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm curious about something because it just popped into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this does add up.
Okay.
Because I was like, it's random to pick llamas.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a Disney Channel movie.
Oh.
The Emperor's New Groove came out the next year.
They were probably in
Is that a link? Maybe not.
Maybe.
Coincidence? I think not. But yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah. I meant to look. I thought it would be funny to look up that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
that is funny. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically they're like, dude. So like the next day.
Yeah.
So
he's
he
like
doesn't
driving
end up
them
taking
to
her
school.
from keeping her out of school.
Yeah.
But they're like, dude, Pat is out of control. Dad, you got to do something. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll call Sarah and see if she can help us.
Yeah.
So he calls Sarah. Blah blah blah. She comes over and she's like, oh, a system reboot ought to do the trick.
Because she's like her intelligence is just like collecting too much information, and she's having a hard time sorting it all out to like know what's right and what's wrong and like how she should be doing things. Because I guess she knew how to do that before.
I guess. But so when things are wrong, when electronics go haywire, what do? You turn it off and turn it back on again.
Yep.
So of course that's what she tries to do, and then Nick is like, "Why don't you just stay for dinner?" Yeah. And then he makes her cook.
He makes her cut the vegetables for the salad.
But still,
and he's cooking.
Okay, like initially I'm like, bro, what?
Initially,
but then I'm like, okay, I guess cooking with someone is kind of romantic. Mm-hmm. It's not my. I mean, I'm sure maybe if I actually did it, I might not hate it. I don't like cooking a whole lot because I do it all day for work, and it's not my favorite thing in the world. Yeah. But anyway. So I don't know why it's telling me then is spelled wrong in here, but.
Where?
In the notes.
Which part?
In the inviting someone for dinner, then making them help cook. Note. It says it's wrong, and if you right click it, it wants to correct it to than, and that's not the right thing.
That's not correct. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's just driving me crazy because it's red underlined, and I hate it red underlined things.
Classic movie.
Yeah.
They kiss in the kitchen. I don't think they're trying to hide it, but like
but
Ben sees them kiss.
They definitely thought they were alone and had enough privacy to not worry about, but
we've already seen this in every single DCOM so far. If you're in the kitchen, your kid's gonna see you. Like see you, hear you. The kitchen is the worst place to be.
It is the obligatory kitchen scene in the DCOMs.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, this dinner's so good. We did it, believe it or not, we did it the old-fashioned way." And then Nick is like, "Yeah, who needs Pat anyway?"
Yeah. And then somehow that triggers Pat to what did I write down?
To override
the shutdown. And I'm like, why does she have the capability to override? What the heck? She should not be able to do that. Like, that kind of negates the point of being able to shut down the system. It's like having a self-destruct sequence that can be like, I don't want to die, and then cancel the self-destruct sequence. The ship should not be allowed to do that.
What?
Anyway.
Yeah.
And then so they're like having dinner, and he's like, the dad's like Nick is like, oh, I had Sarah make the peach cobbler that I know you like so much. And he's like, I like Mom's peach cobbler. It's not the same thing. And then he storms upstairs. Yeah. And then Dad goes upstairs.
Yeah. And then they have their
big conversation where Dad starts out yelling because, in my opinion, rightly so. Yeah. Because Ben's been acting like an absolute brat.
Yeah.
And like like I said before, I understand like his feelings. I don't get them. I don't
right. I don't fully understand them, but I understand where he's coming from.
I get it. But like it's that moment where like his dad feels like he's just at his wit's end, and he just has to get out. He basically his dad's been bottling up this stuff and just finally lets it explode, and then it turns into a more warm heart to heart. And it's like same thing happened in Brink, except not so much yelling, just like a final breakthrough.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what happens when you don't communicate.
Yeah.
Like,
this is why you talk to your kids, like, especially teenagers. Like, I feel like they would understand.
But also the teenagers need to open up the other way too. Like, I feel like it's not so, in my experience, the teenagers or the parents are rarely the ones who don't want to communicate with the teenagers. It's the teenagers who don't want to communicate.
Yeah.
And
that's
like,
fair.
just talk to your parents, y'all. Like, if your kids out there, just talk to your parents.
Mom talked. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Mom talked to me. No,
just kidding.
I just talked to Mom a couple days ago.
On Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before or after the episode?
After.
Okay. Well, it comes out at 6 a.m. So.
Yeah, it'll be after.
Anyway. And then this is the second movie in a row.
Yeah.
That references The Little Mermaid, which you brought up.
Yeah, because he was like, he said Angie doesn't even remember Mom anymore, like just from what she sees in the movies, and he's like, she's just like Belle or Ariel.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the second movie in a row that they've referenced The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And it's like, we figured out that it's 10 years since The Little Mermaid came out, so it's like kind of, it probably like just re-released or something. Yeah,
that was my assumption, is that the Disney Vault put it back out for its 10-year anniversary, because that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
I'm so glad the Disney Vault doesn't exist anymore, so we can just watch this stuff whenever we want. Because like the way the Disney Vault worked is like, oh, it's a 10-year anniversary, you can buy this movie on VHS.
Yeah.
And then in like a year, it would go back in the vault, and you couldn't buy it. If you missed it, you didn't. That was it. Too bad.
Gone until the like maybe 25th.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then it came out on DVD.
There was like a regular rotation. It might have been every 10 years, but I don't remember what
something
it was
like
exactly.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, fun fact.
Yeah, and then like he's like Sarah's a good person. Like
he's like, you know what?
And then Ben's like, yeah, she is.
I guess she could be my mom.
And
that's
like
fine.
he mentioned it. He's like, I just don't want Mom to be erased.
Right.
He's like worried about losing his memories of his mom if Sarah comes in to become their quote unquote new mom.
Right. Which is honestly, it's totally valid.
Like, yeah.
But it's like, just because your dad gets remarried doesn't mean that your mom's memory just goes away.
Right.
He's always gonna remember her.
Yeah.
Especially because of the kids.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Angie's gonna grow up to look like her.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah,
she's never gonna go away.
Right. And then he's like, you'd be crazy. This person nobody would be trying to take over as your mom. That'd be crazy.
Right.
And then it cuts to Pat creating the virtual projection of herself.
Yes.
Who it's the actress. It is Katie Sagal.
Yes.
But yeah.
And then so then she pops into Ben's room because she's like, Ben, we need to stop your father from falling in love with Sarah.
Because she tried to shut me down, and they're happy and they can't be happy.
Yeah. She's like, I'm your mom. And I don't remember the terminology that she used, but it's like basically like I did not spend all this time to be pushed out by another woman. And it's like, but you're not a woman. You're a computer who happens to sound like a woman.
Yes. Yeah. And then she makes the comment. He's like, you're a he's like, I'm gonna go get Sarah. And
she's like, Sarah wouldn't know the difference between a virtual projection and a hologram. And I heard that line and I was like, would I know the difference?
Oh,
what's the difference?
100% I do not know.
Virtual projection and a hologram. I mean, I guess virtual projection is like, I don't know. I guess I should have researched and looked it up.
Maybe, but we had like 10 minutes to do it. So
it's like,
I don't blame you.
I guess a virtual projection is just like having projectors in the ceiling that just map dots on the wall in a specific way that make it look 3D even though it's flat on the wall. Whereas a hologram would be something that is just
like there. Hologram.
No. I'm like, I don't know if I could tell you the difference.
I absolutely cannot.
Who knows? Yeah.
And I agree with this statement. This is why AI is terrifying.
Yes.
It scares me.
It scares the crap out of me because it learns too much.
Yeah.
And then it starts to feel it's artificial intelligence. So it doesn't have feelings, but it would, I feel that it would get to a point where it believes it should feel things.
Yeah.
And it can make them up.
Yeah. And then Ben runs away.
Yeah. So Ben runs away. Yeah. And then what's funny is he's like,
Pat's in my room.
Yeah, he comes. Okay, yeah, I got lost there for a second. So he comes down into the kitchen where every important conversation happens, and tells his dad and Sarah that
Pat's alive in
Pat
his
is
room.
alive in his room and made a projection of herself, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you just fell asleep and we're dreaming it." And I'm like, "Why does nobody ever believe kids?"
He's like, "Obviously you fell asleep. You dreamt this. Sarah shut her off."
Right. And it's like, there's nothing obvious about that, sir. But and it's like, obvious. Okay, what is obvious is that Sarah should know that she programmed Pat to be able to override the shutdown sequence.
Yeah.
So it should be instantaneous, and Sarah should go, "Huh? I wonder if she overrode the power down sequence and then did this, and now she's mad."
Yeah.
So yeah, no one believes him. Yeah. And then of course 5 seconds later she shows up and they goes, "Wow, you were telling the truth." Like, of course he was.
Yeah.
He's a kid in a Disney movie. They never lie.
They never lie. Kids never lie.
But yeah, so like
Unfortunately.
the way that she like locks out the family with like
locks them in. She pushes Sarah out of the house physically.
Yes.
Uses her little arm, pushes her out.
Yeah, and then locks them in with like the barred or the steel doors.
Steel doors, and it's like.
And it's like, what I thought was kind of poetic about it is like the whole tone of the movie thus far has been Ben like absolutely trying to keep his dad from finding a girlfriend at all, right? And so this now becomes the like worst nightmare of Ben doing that.
Yeah.
And of course it comes right at the time where Ben doesn't feel that way anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
And so then basically Sarah figures out that she can just I am Ben, and I'm like, okay,
so we completely skipped this at the very beginning. She there's a part where she's like, "I just want everything to be perfect," and then you see like a little mouse run out.
Oh, right.
And she goes, "Butler," and it's like her rat.
Right.
And she's like, "How'd you get out of the thing?" And so she uses Butler to send a message to Ben. Like she ties a little note on Butler, the rat. There's a reference in there, but I don't get it. And she's like, I hate showing my age because she says that later.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't get it.
I don't understand.
But she sends Butler in with a little note around his neck,
right.
And he's a smart rat because it's Sarah's rat,
right?
And he knows to give it to Ben, and so he like reads the message and he's like, "I have a blah 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 smartsarah.com,"
right?
Or something.
Whatever it was.
And so that's how he IMs her.
Okay, but still, regardless of that,
and it's pretty genius. He hides in the bathroom to do that.
Yeah, but okay, here was my
because Pat can't.
Right. There's that she has she can't interrupt privacy in the bathroom. Yeah. But what I thought was weird about that being possible is, first of all, we're on dial-up, so there's no Wi-Fi, so he had to run a cable from the dial-up modem to the bathroom. First of all, second of all, Pat was able to keep Nick from making phone calls earlier
through his cell
phone. That's not connected to the internet. And somehow
Ben can use the computer in the bathroom
without her being able to detect it and interrupt it.
Yeah. I thought that was weird too. And also Sarah's just sitting outside the house using Wi-Fi, like using internet.
Right. I'm like, well, it makes sense to me that she would have more of like a Wi-Fi enabled situation.
Okay, I guess.
Not really, but kind of.
Anybody
because
who
she's
would
super
know
smart
the
and
to that,
like,
let us know.
Yeah. Maybe I don't understand how the internet worked in the 90s, but
I still don't know how it works.
Pretty sure Wi-Fi. I mean, Wi-Fi was a thing, I guess, but
okay.
I don't know.
I believe you.
Anyway, this is random, but I'm going to jump back for a hot second.
Okay. I've been doing it all night.
I'm going way back.
Okay.
Because you remember at the beginning when Ben takes the phone call from Naomi or Natalie or whatever her name was? Oh,
Melanie.
Melanie. Okay. Yes. Yeah. He takes the phone call from Melanie, right? And then doesn't give the message to his dad.
Yes.
But dad has a cell phone.
Dad has
Dad, why didn't you just give Melanie the cell phone number so you don't have to rely on your son giving you messages that you know he's not giving you?
That you know he's not going to give you.
Anyway, that was way back, but it just
but it was also
into
like,
my head.
And when he brought it up, he's like, "Oh yeah, she called like a week ago."
Right.
And he's like, "Dude."
He said 3 weeks ago, I think.
No, he said last Thursday.
Oh, I knew there was a T in there somewhere. My brain said 3 weeks. Okay, well there you go. Yeah. This is so funny.
Yeah.
So then anyway, we're good at this.
Instant messaging each other.
Yeah. So they're IMing, and it's yep. Then
and like. She like gets an instant message pop up on her computer, and she's like, "Hi Sarah, this is Ben." It's Ben.
Right. Oh yeah, that was where I was going with it.
Who did you? Who did you think?
I was like, I don't understand what this.
You just sent him a note on your rat, and you think, how long did you think it was going to take him to instant message you?
Right.
Also, well, his title.
She knew he had to run that cable from the modem.
Thing. Yeah. His little, what is it called? Handle.
Yeah.
I guess
it said. Ben Cooper.
Yeah, said Ben Cooper. And she's smart Sarah.
Who do you think it could have been?
Who did you think?
Anyway. So they devise a plan for her to get back inside using the arm that retrieves the newspaper earlier. Mm-hmm. Super funny.
Yeah.
I like the way she jumps in.
I do too. I was like, she's got to run fast.
For real.
So fast. And like he fakes an appendicitis. And
I'm confused why she had to run from the tree all the way up to the house.
Because, I don't know, actually. Because I know in the beginning, she
very clearly can see outside.
She can see outside. She notifies them when Tuttle gets there.
Yes.
She's like, visitor approaching.
All of this makes sense.
So,
except
when she's running up, you think Pat would, like, notice that she was there right away.
Because, a few moments later, she's trying to break into the control room to shut her down.
Yeah.
And she's like, how did you get in here?
She's like, security breach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like,
and I'm like, you should know how she got in here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she could have just...
There are some holes in this movie.
There's a few of them. But anyway,
okay.
It's fine. It was
what
fun.
What are you saying?
Huh? We digress.
We digress. Yes. Green. Yes. We dye it green.
No, we dye it blue.
Blue?
Yeah. Like the table.
Oh. Smart.
Or maybe green. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll decide on the shirt later. But then so she gets really mad. Pat gets really mad at Sarah, and she grows really tall.
Yes.
Right? And based on like roughly estimations of how much she grew.
It's got to be a very tall house.
Yeah. I'm like, these ceilings have got to be like 12 feet high.
They got to be, at least.
Like standard ceilings are like 8 to 9 feet tall, depending. Like, in a really nice house, I guess 9 feet is like normal.
Yeah.
But like Pat is very clearly taller than 9 feet because when she gets really big, her waist is above Sarah's head.
Yeah.
Her waist. That's about half her height.
Yeah. And like Sarah's probably like 5'2", 5'3".
5'6", maybe.
But,
she looks like she's decently tall.
Like
5'6", 5'8", somewhere in there. Maybe he's taller than me. Maybe a little taller.
Anyway.
She's definitely taller than you, darling.
Definitely taller than me.
But then, like, so Pat is like very clearly like
gigantic,
11 feet tall, and she's not touching this. Her head's not phasing through the ceiling. So I'm like, these ceilings have got to be like,
they have to be huge,
12 feet high, amazingly tall.
Yeah,
especially to have a second story.
Yeah, and then she like starts tornadoing.
Oh my gosh, it gets like, scary.
And Nick and Sarah like jump up and
they protect the kids.
Protect the kids from flying things.
And that moment triggered a memory in me that I forgot I had.
Yes.
Because as she was singing, "Hush, little baby, don't say a word," I was like, okay, Mom used to sing that to Lauren. I remember. She probably sang it to all of us.
Probably.
But I remember her singing it to Lauren.
Yeah.
And me being creeped out when she did.
Yeah.
And when I saw this, and it unlocked that memory, I'm like, this is why that song gives me the creeps. Because it was very creepily sung in this movie. And I have very bad flashbacks to it. And it was literally like a childhood trauma.
Yeah, and like that's the song that Ben's mom sang to him when he was little, and that's why she was singing it. 'Cause she's like, "I'm your mother now." Yeah, and then she's like singing the song. And then he jumps up and he's like, "You can't be our mom. You're not real."
Yeah.
And she's like,
"What are you talking about?"
Almost glitches.
Right.
You know?
And he's like, you saw how like Sarah and Dad just covered us to protect you, protect us from the stuff you were throwing around.
Yeah.
You could never do that.
She's like, you can't do that. And she like shrinks down.
Yeah. She goes from being 12 feet tall to being her normal height.
Yeah. And she like puts her hand on his face, but like she's a hologram, so
like it just goes through.
And she's like, "You didn't feel that at all, did you?" And he went,
"Not one bit.
Not even a bit."
Yeah.
And then she like turns around, and then storm clouds come over.
Right.
And Angie's like, "Pat's crying." It's like she made it rain in the house.
I'm like, "I'm not crying.
I'm not crying.
It's just been raining on my face."
Yeah, and then,
Flight of the Conchords, everyone.
I think it's just funny. She walks to this corner where the storm clouds come in. She turns around and she's like, "I'm gonna miss you all."
And then she just bloop. Well, the windows all the bars come off the window and everything.
Off, yeah.
And they're
it's just like she just shut herself off.
Yeah.
She overrode the override and just shut herself off.
Good stuff. Yeah. And then Sarah goes and fixes her, and then they're like, "Oh, Sarah's actually a great addition to our family. Yeah, Dad, you should date her and maybe marry her."
Maybe
who knows what happens next?
Our new female role model.
Yeah. So in the end, they put Pat in her place, and okay, my problem is like I said with AI, they just trust her again. Nothing's ever gonna go wrong again, and I'm like, no.
She will return.
Yes, we are writing a sequel.
We
to
are.
This movie. Yes.
Okay.
We're going to call it Smarter House.
Smarter House.
And it's going to be the story of Ben and his wife and kid.
Oh.
One kid.
One kid.
Because I can only deal with one child at a time. That's why I don't have any. One kid. Mm-hmm. And Pat, the AI, comes back with a vengeance. And she murders the wife. Yeah.
That took a turn. Okay.
It's going to be a dark one because this should have been a horror movie. The sequel should be a horror movie.
The sequel should be.
The original doesn't need to be, but the sequel is going to be. So
yeah, I love.
We'll get on that.
Nick makes pancakes for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And Angie's like, "I didn't know these were chocolate chip pancakes. They're my favorite." And he's like, "I didn't put chocolate chips in there." And then he's like, "Young lady."
Right.
She's like, "Don't look at me." And he's like, "Well, Ben was outside playing basketball.
Right.
Who else could have done it?" And then Ben's like, "I think I know." And he looks over and there's like screen. And it's like a picture of Pat.
Yeah.
And she's like, a video now.
She's like.
And she goes,
"It was me."
And then it freeze frames on that.
Yeah, and it's kind of creepy. But like, then the theme song for the movie goes, and it's a bop, low key. Like it got old a little bit that they used it so much, but it was honestly a bop.
Only like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but 3 times is too many for me.
Because they play it at the beginning when he's making the macaroni.
Yeah, and then they play it during the party.
And they play it during the party, and then at the end.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's spaced out enough that it's not too much repeating for me personally.
Like the second time I was like, I don't know that we needed to put this in. Okay, because there's 2 different kinds of music in movies.
I wonder if that's the boy band that they dance to.
Maybe.
That's probably it.
There's 2 different types of music in movies though. I'm trying to remember what they're called. It's diegetic and non-diegetic music. So diegetic sound is any sound that comes naturally from the world of the video. So the diegetic sound would be like the music at the party.
The music at the party.
The people in the movie can hear it.
Yeah.
Non-diegetic would be music outside of the realm. Okay. So more like ambience music that wouldn't be heard by the cast or by the characters.
Got it.
So my problem is, and it's fine, it doesn't really matter, but the problem that I have is that the theme song is non-diegetic at the beginning of the movie, and then it's diegetic in the middle of the movie, and then it's non-diegetic again.
Oh, okay.
Which going from non-diegetic to diegetic, I don't like. But going from being able to hear it as the characters to being the end credits, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But like if it feels like a confusing, like you're setting a confusing tone for it. Right. That's just me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, but jump. The house is jumping. Copy strike. Yeah. Anyway, I think that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah. And I mean that's the end credits, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would be the end.
That's the end of it.
Awesome. So what are your final thoughts? Like what did you feel rewatching this? What did you remember? What did you forget?
I remembered pretty much the whole movie, honestly.
Okay.
I was like, this is a very memorable.
Remember.
I remembered it really well.
Yeah.
It was like I watched it last week, but I didn't. No, it was really good. And like, there's some things that like didn't age well.
Yeah.
I guess like one of my things is like, why was this era like the era of spiky, like straight up hair? And the bullies always had like those twisted spikes. It was like, not great, but always
them in Protozoa.
Like yeah, that's true.
It looked good on Protozoa. It looks good on the good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or was he the good guy?
Was he? Maybe he was making someone do his homework.
What if? Oh my God. Theory time.
Let's hear it.
You remember how the whole precedent, the reason that Xenon wins the competition is because she makes the sculpture of him.
Yeah.
What if he had an art project too?
He had to do a self sculpture. I don't know. And when Xenon sent it, he went, "She's the winner because she finished my homework."
Right. Now I realized that the big flaw in that is he broadcast it on national television. So.
Yes. And also he's like 30 years old, so
maybe he's in college again.
Maybe.
Anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of things that were. As I was watching it, I was like, it was very rare that something happened, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like I'm with you. Like I pretty much remembered the whole movie to an extent.
Yeah.
I feel like there was one thing. I forgot the rat altogether, to be honest with you. I completely forgot about the rat.
I remembered it.
It was such a small part of the movie.
I only remembered the part when like she sent the rat in. And I was like, where did she get the rat? And
right. Apparently she just has him as a pet.
It's her pet.
Yeah.
And like Angie makes a comment. She's like, well, I better go home and feed my pet rat his dinner. She's like, you got a pet rat? She's like, yeah. His name's Butler. Rat Butler. Get it? And I was like, no, I don't get it. I don't actually.
Oh boy.
But yeah.
Okay. Time for our rating out of 5 stars.
I give it a 5. Honestly.
5 out of 5.
Yeah, 5 out of 5 because, I remembered all of it, and it wasn't. There were some confusing parts, but like, it still kind of made sense for 1999, where it's like the first futuristic house.
Sure.
So.
I want to give it a 4 myself.
Okay.
Just because of so many like inconsistencies I didn't love.
Like really.
Nostalgia does help it a lot.
Yeah.
It does, but there's some things that just I didn't love. So, but I'm gonna give it an official 4.5.
Yeah.
Because of
my 5 and
averaging.
Your 4.
Yeah. So the official World of Wonder score is a 4.5 out of 5.
Maybe if I knew more about technology and stuff, I would lower it, but like.
Yeah,
it's entertaining, and
there's just a lot of things. Okay, one of the things,
I like the family dynamic.
The family dynamic is super cool.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy that.
Yeah,
one of the biggest things I think that made me want to give it a 4 was the fact that Ben was able to get into the control room with a drill.
Yeah, and
Sarah had to use a laser.
She's like using a laser. Yeah.
And I'm like...
And they're also like 2 different things.
Yeah.
Like his is like this tiny panel.
And it's like, couldn't you access what you needed to in there?
And then she was like at the door. Right. Trying to laser open the door is what it looked like.
Shouldn't you be able to just access what you need to? And she has a laser. Why cut through the door instead of just the drywall?
Just the drywall.
Who cares if you cut some wires?
Like, yeah. That'll probably take care of her.
People are trapped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that's all that. Right on. We have way gone beyond what time I was hoping we would finish. So
sorry.
Let's wrap it up by saying you can find us on Instagram by going to by searching for @Noah Parker's World of Wonder. You can do that on TikTok as well. You can see some of our TikToks that we're putting out. And also give us a follow over there. You can find the video version of the podcast if you are listening on youtube.com/@Noah Parker _channel. Or by searching for Noah Parker _channel in the search bar on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube and you want the audio version, there is a Linktree link in the description below that will take you to all the platforms we currently put the podcast on. And we would highly appreciate it if you guys would like and review no matter where you're listening. and share it with your friends, your family, your coworker, your dog, your smart house. Tell Siri to send it to all of your friends. All the good stuff. Next week we have stuff happening that I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's not a DCOM episode.
It's not a DCOM. I can assure you of that. It is me and someone doing something.
Cool.
Looking
forward to it.
16th. Let's see. It's on my calendar here somewhere. It'll be me and Caleb.
Oh.
I believe. We will be ranking the 9, 10, 11 Star Wars movies.
There's 11?
Yes. Well, there's 9 like Star Wars, like Skywalker saga movies.
That's like Star Wars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. And then there's Rogue One.
Oh, okay.
And Solo, a Star Wars story. So we'll be ranking those films in our preference order. It's going to be a fun conversation, I think, because me and Caleb have similar but differing opinions on some of the movies.
Yeah.
So
That's
going to be awesome. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming. We did have our meeting for the next 2 months after February. So some of the stuff we've got planned is going to be really fun. We actually have something super exciting, for me anyway, happening in March. And I can't wait to tell you guys about that. But now is not that time. It is time for me to tell you that we will be here next time. And until then, let the wonder take hold.